Welcome, everybody, to our Industrial Advisors podcast. We have Bill Condon and Matt McGregor here, and we have a very exciting guest today. We have Dan Sheridan, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Brooks Running, with us today. Dan has actually been with Brooks since January of 2000 when he started as a key account sales manager. And since then, he's had multiple promotions, probably 5 or 6, all the way to the COO of the company, which is very impressive. And I know Dan is just a great ambassador for the company. I myself am an avid runner and absolutely love Brooks. It's the only shoe I run in. I believe there's no question they are the best brand in the space. And so great to have Dan on. Dan and I go way back. He actually coached me in high school basketball my sophomore year. So I have to say, I think this is the podcast that I've probably looked forward to the most, just because I know we're going to have a lot of fun with it, and the topic will be good. The company's great, and Dan will do a fantastic job. So Dan, thank you for joining us.
Happy to join you guys, Bill and Matt, and fun to listen to a couple of the episodes here and hear a little bit about what you guys are working on and reconnect with you, Bill. It's always good to reconnect with somebody from the past. So fun to see all the success you're having as well. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Dan. I know Bill told me that you were a basketball coach at Blanchette. My daughter goes to Blanchette. Exciting school, exciting times. Just curious, Dan, you were a basketball coach there. Who was your favorite player you ever coached at Blanchette?
Such an easy answer, right? That's a layup.
It's an easy one. I was thinking about Bill. We knew him as Billy Condon back then, and
Bill's my professional name.
Yeah, that's a professional name. So many good memories, right? I'm sure Bill has a ton. I was a young coach back then in my early 20s and coaching a group of young guys that were scrappy, and Bill fit the mold, man. He was our point guard that, was the hardest working guy on the court and the most reliable too. That's what I remember about Billy Condon. And obviously that's played out in his professional life here. So it's fun to think back to those years, Bill.
It definitely is. It's funny, when I was on my run this morning, I was thinking about our podcast today, and it brought me back to the memories of you coaching and us, having the experience we did at Blanchette. But it brought me back to my sophomore year, and when we beat Rainier Beach. I don't know if you remember this. Mike Woody, as we call him, hit a 3 at SBU in a winner to state loser out game. Woody hit that 3. We beat Beach by 1. And we go to state, they don't. And I think that was probably the last time a Blanchette teams beat Rainier Beach in basketball.
I think you're right, and I remember that game fondly. That was an epic achievement for sure.
Well, that's good times there. So let's jump in. Brooks is an amazing story. The growth of the company, culture of the company. Tell us a little bit about how Brooks went from this tiny company to a global brand in the running space.
Yeah, I don't think many people know the Brooks story, at least going back in history. Brooks is a really old company in terms of longevity and kind of the history of our start. We started in 1914 as a company. We were a manufacturing company based out of Pennsylvania. The Brooks family started it, and they were in manufacturing. And at that point, they were manufacturing just about every sport possible. Because if you were in manufacturing back then, you had to kind of go through the season. So you had football, basketball, baseball, they had bathing shoes, they had ice skates, they had everything just to keep the factory running. And so our history is deep, and we are one of the longest standing U.S. athletic brands. So we've got great heritage in sport, and really, our story didn't start till the 1970s and 80s when that first kind of running boom happened, and Brooks started to manufacture, cross country and track. And the 1970s of the split short, and Brooks was right in the center of that. In fact, Runner's World would recognize Brooks for some of our shoes, the Vantage and the Vanguard, that, if you go to a race, a marathon event now, you still get people that are asking, hey, can you bring that shoe back? And the story kind of plays out that, you go through a bunch of owners in the 70s and 80s, and you settle in the 1990s when, not many of the big athletic brands were focused focusing on running, Brooks kind of set their sights again on the sport of run. And really wasn't until 2000 when we had new ownership. Jim Weber, our CEO, comes in and really sets the strategy to focus on performance run. And at that point, ASICS was kind of leading the pack in run, but nobody was really intensely focused on just running as a business. And that's really what we did. So I love to tell the story that we're kind of an overnight success in 20 plus years of grinding out a strategy and a focus that is focused on the most loyal running community. You're one of them, Bill. Tell me your story all the time. And, we focus on kind of three key areas. One, product. We want to make the best running gear in the world. We want to outservice and out execute our competition by focusing on our customers' needs and the runner needs. And then we want to bring a fun, inclusive attitude to the sport of run. And, running is something for everyone. We believe that. We wake up every day thinking about running and what it means to people's lives. And we think running can change your day. We think it can change your life, and add it all up around the world. We think it could literally change the world if more people ran or were fit. And so we play in that space, and it's been a good formula for us. We've had incredible success. We sit now as the number one performance run brand here in the US and in some of our developing markets around Europe. And we still have great opportunity for growth, which is the beautiful part. We're in a huge market, $34 billion running market around the world, which is just massive. So yeah, it's a fun story and one that I feel incredibly fortunate to be a part of.
That's awesome, Dan. Well, you touched on that brand loyalty and that running is for everybody. And I'll tell you, a guy like Billy Condon is the poster child for Brooks because he's a great fast runner. I am not so much, but I will tell you, I found Brooks shoes, specifically the Beast, about 25 years ago. I'm a big guy, and I've run several marathons, over 200 pounds, and that shoe definitely has kept me running for the last 25 years. I've tried a couple other shoes, and there's just nothing like the Beast. So you guys create a loyalty like nobody's business.
Yeah, Matt, it's funny how many people tell me their stories of a shoe that kind of changed their life. And the Beast is probably the most frequent story I hear about. One of the things we believe at Brooks is that everybody deserves a performance product, no matter what speed you are, how frequent. Performance product is something that everybody deserves. And so the Beast is just a great example of all speeds, all kind of abilities. We can outfit somebody. And so it's fun to hear people tell their product stories. I get it frequently.
That's great. Well, it's been a crazy year. I'm sure it has been for Brooks with COVID. I'm interested, with all of the canceled events all over the country and all over the world for that matter, how has COVID impacted your business? Are sales up, sales down? How's it going?
Yeah, we're fortunate. I know we're fortunate in terms of just how COVID has impacted our business. First and foremost, when it hit, I think like everybody else, we were kind of rocked on our heels. At that point in March of 2020, 90% of our unit sales go through a retailer, and retail shut down, right? And so we had a very small direct-to-consumer business, and it was growing nice, but it was a very small percentage of our total. And so as retailers shut down, we had that moment of panic, like most businesses did. We've been working though really, really hard over the last 5 years on what we call a multi-channel strategy. Many of the big brands are really shifting to direct to consumer, and they're prioritizing their direct to consumer model. We just fundamentally believe that the runner is in charge of where they want to shop, and nobody owns running from a channel perspective. Running's made up of 10,000 different sub communities of specialty run shops or sporting goods stores that merchandise and assort around running. So we've built kind of this multi-channel, omni-channel strategy that when COVID hit really came into play for us. And we were able to shift that demand that we saw in the marketplace to our direct channel. And our supply chain was flexible enough to fulfill the demand, whether it was through our site or our retailers' sites. We started plugging in a lot of programs that we'd been working on, drop ship programs where even though the retailer was shut, they had people calling them up, and we were able to drop ship from our distribution centers. We had same day shipping from those stores. We were able to work with partners that had that. And so this agility that we had in kind of our strategy and our model turned out to be very advantageous for us as stores remained shut through kind of June, July. And we saw incredible demand. So we grew 27% year over year in 2020.
Wow.
We think a lot of it has to do with just fantastic product, but a lot of it had to do with execution of meeting the runner and the demand that was coming our way. So, though COVID was really, really tough on us as an organization, on our people, on our partners around the world, the business was really strong. And I think it plays into just the participation rates that everyone's seeing. I drove into the office this morning. I swear everyone in Seattle was out running and walking on my way in. It was just insane, right? You get some sunshine here. So we're seeing that around the world through our European market, through our Asian markets, and it's good to be in the running business right now.
Well, up 27% through COVID is remarkable. I guess I have to ask from a supply chain perspective, several guests that we've had on have had a real issue getting their product in to be able to deliver it, let alone the issues with getting it direct to the customer, but getting it imported because of the messed up supply chain, cans everywhere, empty cans, I should say, in the wrong countries, in the wrong spots, empty sailings. Tell us about how you're getting your product.
Yeah, it's not an easy answer. I think early on in 2020, when COVID hit and markets were shut down, like many businesses, I think we paused and really tried to kind of reset how we work. And we went from kind of a monthly sales and operation process to literally a daily process where we were tracking runner signals around the world. That had to do with retail sales, running participation. We sent some of our sales and marketing people out into parks just to track, are more people out day over day, week over week.
Wow.
And we were able to then build kind of a sophisticated demand model and get moving on our demand and supply planning. So early on, we were able to take bets that we had a lot of confidence that running was going to grow. And I think that helped us now. We're a pretty long product life cycle in terms of development. It takes us almost 6 months from when we place a PO and get that product built to get it here to the US. And because of that lead time, we got to make bets for spring in July of the previous year, right? So those signals that we built helped us secure some of the capacity and shipping. And so I think we're in a better spot, believe it or not, than some of our competitors. Doesn't mean we don't have challenges. All of the shortages in terms of capacity coming out of Asia are still real. All of the shortages to get your product on land here once it's in the ports is still real. But because we didn't pause for more than a couple weeks last summer, I think we're in a better spot. But it's significant challenges for all of us. And then the last mile, right? Even the last mile is tough right now. We were going from 2.5 to 3 days delivery to almost 5 to 7 days now. With some of the carriers here domestically in the U.S.
Yeah, and Dan, a few, 3 to 5 years ago, you guys made the strategic decision to move your DC fulfillment center from Sumner to, I believe, Indiana. And I'm assuming that was an effort to get product to a wider range of customers sooner.
Yeah, we, as you're aware, Bill, but just for everyone listening, we were a West Coast operation. We had one distribution center to fulfill all of North America, and that was essentially Sumner, Washington. So you've seen that story before. Our freight costs were through the roof. We had to subsidize freight for our retailers on the East Coast to get it there sooner, and so we had to be in the middle of the country. And we had a growing, direct to consumer business as well. So that move really set us up for this multi-channel, omni-channel strategy we have. And now we sit in the middle of the country. We have, call it, 550,000 square feet between two facilities. one in Indianapolis, and now we are partnering with DHL on a 3PL in Columbus to kind of help us with all the demand we're seeing, and that's been a fantastic move for us. Obviously, we're now essentially 2 to 3 days from any of our customers in the U.S.
Yeah, and Dan, of course, as you guys look to expand into other facilities, we're here to help you. So
I thought that pitch would come at the end.
Yeah. I just figured we do it now, do it live. Yeah.
I love it.
But one of the things, I know you guys, and I know a lot of runners know Brooks is great in the States, but I don't think a lot of people know how strong you guys are and your growth internationally. Talk a little bit about that. I mean, because you guys have a great reputation in some of the international markets as well.
Yeah, so majority of our business is done in the US, but we've been working really hard over the last 10 years to expand globally. And we essentially sell in over 50 countries around the world. We've got distributor partners where we actually kind of contract our business to great partners throughout Asia Pacific and Latin America, but we own our businesses in Europe. And so we've got a home office in Amsterdam. We've got satellite offices throughout all the core countries. The German market is a fantastic market for us, where essentially we're the number one brand in performance run there. But we've got really strong businesses throughout the UK, which is very similar to the US market in terms of just maturity of e-commerce. And then we've got really nice growing businesses in Italy, Spain, and France. And the beauty of this strategy that we're executing really well here in the US and in other markets is that essentially running is very similar around the world. People do it for their own reasons, and it's about social, it's about a goal, it's about fitness and well-being, and that translates everywhere. And so we've been really fortunate to be able to take a strategy both from a product perspective and just an execution of multi-channel, omni-channel to all these markets, and we don't have to recreate a strategy. So we're growing like crazy in all those markets, and I think it has a lot to do with our focus, but I think it has a lot to do with just the ethos of Brooks. We've always had a kind of a brand personality of inclusivity and welcoming everybody to the run, and that translates around the world too.
Yeah, before Matt's got, I think, another question for you, but I will say, we've been to your office multiple times over the years, and this was pre-COVID, of course, but when you walk into Brooks, everybody there's got a smile on their face. Everybody brings great energy. It is, from a culture standpoint, absolutely awesome. And you can tell when you walk into the Brooks office space that it's just a really well-run company.
Well, I love hearing that. What I would tell you is that, we have a collection of just incredible people working for this brand. And I have been really, really fortunate to be with this company for a long time. And I always get asked, why did you stick around? Why didn't you, go somewhere else and build your career? And at the root of it, I think we all want to work with people that have a similar passion for what you're working on and who you're working with. And we have that at Brooks. I think it's unique and but it's hard work. I think a clarity of strategy helps people to know what they're doing. And then a deep-rooted value system, which Brooks has and always has had, also helps. But we've had consistent leadership over the years, and Jim Weber's a great example of that consistent leadership. And I think that's the most important thing, is when you don't change ownerships and you don't change leadership. Our ownership structure is unique too. As we're owned by Berkshire Hathaway, and you just can't have a better owner in times of crisis like COVID, where you play the long game and you're not having to hit quarterly results, though we do that. And we play through all the challenges. And I think that shows up in our people and our culture every day. So it's good to know that you recognize it.
Well, there's no question you guys are the number one running shoe company in the world. I was told by a mentor early on in my business to specialize in something and be excellent at it. And I would say, no question, you guys have done that. The question is, are you guys going to stay fully committed to the running game, or are we going to see Brooks expand outside of the specialization into running into other sports?
Yeah, it's a question we get a lot, Matt. Here's how we think about it. Running is the biggest category in sporting goods. And then globally, when we add up all the potential markets, addressable market, we still only have about 5% of the running market because we're not fully developed in many of the international markets. Take China, for example. We haven't launched our brand in China yet. And we know there's, probably double the runners that there are in the US. That's a very safe assessment. So this strategy that we have focused on performance running with runners that intend to use our product for running actually has probably 10 more years in it before we even have to consider other categories. And what's fun about that is you build deep functional execution when you have that long of a runway with a strategy. So yeah, we're focused on run because the growth opportunity still sits right in front of us, and we're just plainly underdeveloped in a lot of the international markets. So it's great. We don't have to wake up and worry about what baseball players are going to think about our product, or football players or basketball players. We just simply have to make great running product and then be relevant and authentic to runners, which is really easy for us as we focus on this strategy.
Yeah, well, Dan, I'll say it has been a really fun. We're based here in Seattle, right? So it's been fun to watch Brooks evolve and be, the company that it is certainly today, and it'll be equally as fun to watch you guys continue to grow in the future as well. And I know I'll do my part, man. I will continue to only run in Brooks shoes and do that. But I do want to just take the opportunity to thank you for joining us today. You're awesome as expected, and good luck to Brooks as you guys continue to expand, and just really appreciate you joining us today.
Hey, this has been fun. I love telling the Brooks story, and again, to you and Matt, congrats on all the success. And who knows, maybe one of these days when you're knocking on our door, Bill, we'll actually answer it.
I think that's a great way to end it. Yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, you guys, thanks.
Appreciate it.